All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you're here live, if you're watching this on the replay, I implore you to get your journal, a pencil or a pen. You are going to get some incredible nuggets today, some great information from a very talented and well-respected doctor. And the information you get today can quite possibly not only help you, but help your loved ones as well. So with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Becky Natrajan. She is a retired gastrointestinal specialist. So she knows about your digestive system, elimination system, gut system. And Dr. Natrajan, you want to come on board and let us know a little bit about your prestigious background? We'd love it.
Thanks, JJ. It's an honor to be here. I really enjoy, discussing things with you and the team. Just by way of background, because as you said, I am retired, and I retired a long time ago, in 2005. But when I was in practice, if you were a patient that needed to see me as a GI specialist, you'd come and see me if you had esophageal issues, stomach issues, small intestinal issues, colonic issues, which is your large intestine, rectal and anal issues as well. Let's see, the digestive system is very complicated. So I also took care of people that had pancreatic issues, biliary issues, gallbladder, liver. And so, I had a very busy practice because a lot of people suffer from GI issues. And, to me, it's because of our toxic society, our nutritionally bankrupt society. We're just not putting in enough good stuff to support our digestive system. And so, one of the things I did want to talk to you about and to the group today is the difference between what I saw every day in my practice, which was IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, but I also saw a lot of inflammatory bowel disease, which was a systemic inflammatory condition. And people will recognize the names Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. But I'm going to start with IBS because irritable bowel syndrome affects, I would say, in my practice, like 90% of my patients had IBS.
Wow.
And it's kind of referred to as a motility disorder. But the bottom line is it has a lot to do with the microbiome of our gut. And so the microbiome, when I was in practice, and even before in medical school, we didn't really learn about the microbiome, but we've learned a lot since then. So you have trillions of microorganisms that live in your gut. It just sounds so weird to think that, but they are there and they serve a purpose. They serve a purpose to help with motility of the gut, with digestion, absorption, elimination. And so if your microbiome is not healthy and happy, then a lot of things can happen, like an irritable bowel. And so for people that came into my practice that had IBS, they had gas, distension, bloating, discomfort, change in bowel pattern. And some people were like diarrheal variant and some were constipation variant, but it usually was just irregular bowel patterns. But it was a diagnosis of exclusion because you had to make sure that there was nothing else going on. Now, when I talk about inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, these are systemic inflammatory conditions. So not only do they affect your intestinal tract, and Crohn's can affect your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, your small intestine, your colon, rectal area, anal area. And ulcerative colitis was more confined to the colon. But you could have arthritic conditions, you could have eye conditions, you could have kidney stones, you could have had skin conditions. So it was a systemic inflammatory condition. But you wanted to rule those out before you said that somebody had IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. So I'm going to go back to the microbiome, because it's so important to support the microbiome, because it does help, the motility of the intestinal tract. It helps with your elimination, and it also supports your brain chemistry. So we have something called the gut-brain axis, and it's become very mainstream right now. It wasn't when I was in practice, but they definitely communicate with each other, because if you have a healthy microbiome, these little organisms actually can produce neurotransmitters, which is really amazing that they can do that. And these neurotransmitters, they can go to your brain and they support your brain chemistry. So people that have the good microbiome and they have the good brain chemistry, it's like this super highway between the two, and it makes so much sense. And there's also something called the vagus nerve, which is also a communication between your gut and your brain and your gut. And so by supporting the microbiome, and we're going to talk about your greens, because this is like the number one thing that supports your microbiome. But you have to think about other things that take place when you support the microbiome. 85% or maybe even more of your immune system sits in your gut. Okay, we need to support the gut because we have to support the immune system. And the largest endocrine system of your body is your gut. And then when you support the microbiome, you support the integrity of the bowel wall, which then will hopefully prevent leaky gut syndrome, which can lead to inflammation. And inflammation is known as our secret killer. It's linked to cardiovascular disease, pulmonary disease, liver disease, urinary tract issues. I mean, it's just linked to so many different things. Of course, when we think inflammation, we think arthritis and skin issues. It's a lot more than that. So when you support the microbiome, and we're going to get into the greens here in a little bit, you're supporting the integrity of the gut, the immune system, the endocrine system, your brain, but you also support your liver because you're allowing that liver to stay healthy. And you're allowing that liver to be the #1 detoxifying organ of your body. And that's so important because everything that we eat and drink and put on our skin and what we're exposed to, it's toxic. So we need a good working liver. And the other thing too is that it's a setup for inflammation if you don't have enough antioxidants in your body. And that's why the greens are important, because they're going to deliver a lot of things, including antioxidants. Because when toxins come in, they develop something called free radicals. And then free radicals can go to the level of the DNA and start to damage the DNA. So we need to do so many things to support the gut, support, oxidative stress, and do things that keep us within the quality of life that we deserve to be as we age. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But go ahead. So we can talk about the greens.
Yeah, and as hopefully our listeners know this, but obviously you showed us this. This is the non-dehydrated, ionically charged USDA organic greens. One little scoop of this is equivalent to 5.5 pounds of organic green vegetables. And one of the things that I know helps the gut in this formula, as well as our other greens, which I'll show you in just a bit, is we've got aloe vera at a 200-to-1 concentration, so very concentrated. But for those who don't want to take the greens just as a scoop, we've got it in a capsule form too, in a veggie cap. Same exact product, but in a veggie cap. And then last but not least, it also comes in this box, again, same formula, but in here, you're going to get your travel sachets. So, if you're traveling, you're going to a restaurant, this is the same product, and you can have it. It's really easy and convenient, and obviously you can pass these out as samples too. We've got a little space here that you can write information on there. So yeah, tell us, in your professional experience with your background, what do you think about this greens formula and how it relates to IBS and IBD and the microbiome?
Right. Everything in this product fits with supporting the microbiome, okay, because it's all prebiotic. And so there's a difference between prebiotic and probiotics. So the pre is kind of like a fertilizer for the microbiome. So when you ingest the greens, then the microbiome, these organisms, they chomp on it like fertilizer. That's what they do. And so then they continue to produce healthy and happy microbiota, which in turn does support the brain and everything else we talked about. But there's also chlorophyll that's being delivered here with your product. And what's so important about chlorophyll is it helps your red blood cell production, and it also increases your oxygen delivery capabilities. And that's really important because as you support more oxygen going throughout your vascular system, you're going to fuel areas that really need it. So for example, with inflammation, let's say you had inflammation of your knee or your ankle or your back. And when you increase the oxygen delivery system by the chlorophyll helping the red blood cells, that oxygen goes to those areas of inflammation and helps to heal the inflammation. So that's really key because we want to support red blood cell production. We want to, help the oxygen delivery system. But the other thing too is that when you look at the nutrients in this product, you've got barley, you have spinach, you have lemongrass, you have alfalfa, you have wheatgrass, you've got peppermint, spearmint, you have so many different things, including the aloe, and it's ionically charged, that it just supports every facet of what we need to keep our body in balance. The other thing too is it delivers the ability to stay alkaline. And so when you're alkaline within your system, then you're able to fight off a lot of things. So it strengthens your immune system, it strengthens your ability to fight off inflammation. So there's so many like things in here that make so much sense. Plus you get your fiber. And so, it just all makes sense to do the greens. And what I do is I do them in my shake in the morning. And if I have a shake in the afternoon, I'll do them again too. But you can just mix them in water. And so it's a wonderful way to support that, microbiota. But again, it's supporting the ability for your body to detox. And so as we become more and more of a toxic society and more people are gaining weight, and more people have metabolic syndrome, which is cardiovascular disease, hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, high lipids. We really need to address that because metabolic syndromes become epidemic. And so if you're going to start to fuel your detoxification pathways, especially with the greens, then you're going to notice that toxins and fat live together. So when you get rid of the toxins, the fat goes. So as a side benefit, a lot of people that are using their greens are noticing weight release, which is amazing. So it's just another added benefit to what this product brings to the table. So for me, it's, I enjoy the reds, I enjoy the greens, I enjoy your protein because they all do support the gut. And so when you're supporting the gut, you support your pancreas, your biliary system, of course, your liver, and then the entire intestinal system. So that's what I wanted to impart because it's been a big part of my life to use the greens on a regular basis. And I just think that, everyone deserves to, at least try the greens. I mean, they taste amazing, but, here's what we know what they do physiologically, with the microbiota, with the brain, the immune system, endocrine system, liver, and protecting the integrity of the bowel wall. And so we want to support, our digestion, our absorption, our assimilation, our elimination. And when you do this on a regular basis, it does support all of that, which is key because just think about what people eat and drink these days. It's just, nutritionally bankrupt toxins. I mean, I watch when I go to the grocery store, I watch what people buy and I just am amazed that people there's no produce that they're buying. They're just buying all, manufactured foods in cans, things like roll-ups and, like these Lunchables and sugar, out the wazoo and sodas and cereals and just a bunch of garbage. I mean, what we need to do as a society is when you go to the grocery store, go to the produce section for 20 minutes. And you'll get all the prebiotics that you need. You can supplement with the greens, but we need the fruits, we need the vegetables because they deliver what's important for our microbiota to stay healthy. And so anything else that you're eating outside of produce, in my opinion, it's going to be a little hard on the body. And, I'm very seed-based and plant-based with my diet. Now, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and so my dad was a huge meat eater. I mean, on the grill every day, right? We had the steaks and the pork chops and the hot dogs and the hamburgers and all that stuff. But, as I got older, my digestion couldn't handle it anymore. So I've gone more that route of, seeds and plant-based. And the other thing about seeds, when you talk about flaxseed and chia and pumpkin and sunflower, fennel, these are also great prebiotics for your microbiota. So adding some flax to your shake in the morning with your greens, with your protein, with the reds, it's just a great way to get up. And it's a great way to feel that way. Like you roll out of bed and you're like, all right, I'm going to have a shake because I crave a shake. And I just throw everything in there. The kitchen sink's in there. And it just gives you that energy for the day. It gives you that, I don't know, you just feel good. And that's what this is all about is, helping people get organic again, understanding how to fuel your gut and your brain and all the other things that I've mentioned. But when you do that on a regular basis, remember, the healthy body craves healthy things, right? A toxic body craves toxic things. So as people, get on the greens and the reds and your protein, and they start to do a healthier lifestyle, they're going to start to crave healthier things. They're going to do right by their hydration, right by their exercise, right by their spirituality, their everything mental. And so it's like the positive cascade effects, because as a toxic society, there's a lot of toxic effects. And that's when the body breaks down. That's your weight gain. That's your, metabolic syndrome. That's your inflammation. That's your irritable bowel. and inflammatory bowel too. I mean, there's, if somebody came in and they really had warning signs about inflammation in their gut, and usually it was a very severe pain and usually blood, you should see blood in their stools. And so that would warrant, a very full workup. And if they did have inflammatory bowel disease in terms of Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, the recommendation was to, they would see me at that point. But see, nowadays, there's a lot of biologics out there that can support the healing of, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, which I'm not a fan of the pharmaceutical industry. I grew up with a mom and dad who were pharmacists. Grandpapa was a pharmacist. I think there's like 14 pharmacists in my family. I'm just not a big fan of that. However, sometimes there is a need for temporary, pharmaceuticals. But the bottom line is, if you're doing something right by your diet and you're doing the right supplements, and your company's all certified organic, so it just makes sense to me. If you're always supporting that, you're going to heal faster, you're going to heal quicker, you're going to feel better, you're going to have more zest for life. And as we age, we want to age with quality of life, not to the point where we just have no quality, like, dialysis, diapers, in and out of the hospital constantly, immune systems failing, inflammation. So, the thing that I just want to impart to people is, pick a healthy lifestyle, especially with your company. Pick those products, ingest them on a regular basis. You have to be consistent. You can't just be, oh, I'll just do it once in a while. You got to be consistent. And when you are consistent, your body will respond consistently. So that's my soapbox.
Well, good. And that's really a good way to end this, really, to leave everybody with the word consistency, because anything that you want that's wonderful in your life, or really anything that's terrible in your life, it comes down to consistency. And if, like you were talking about with the toxic society, if people are in the center of the supermarket, like you were talking about, and eating fruit roll-ups all the time, and toxic thoughts and toxic words and toxic food, and they're consistent with that, well, their outcome is going to be unfortunately toxic. But if they're consistent with positive thoughts, positive reading, positive words, positive food, positive organic supplementation, then the result is going to be on the positive side. So consistency is where it's at. You can't go to a gym. It would be great if we can go to a gym just once a year and look like Schwarzenegger at his peak, but it doesn't work that way. You have to be consistent with anything that you want good results for.
That's very true. Yep, you have to be consistent. And a lot of times when patients would come and see me in my office and they had irritable bowel, or they had just, irregularity of their bowel, whatever it was, is I would teach them how to retrain their intestines, get on a consistent diet. You have to eat at this point in time, and this point in time, and this point in time, and you have to be hydrated, and you have to be doing whatever exercise you're capable of doing. But I would have them keep calendars. Actually, my patients, I'd give them a calendar, and I'm like, okay, I want you to write down the whole week, what you're eating, when you're eating it, what you're doing. And they would come back in a week, and I'm like, well, no wonder your bowels are a big disaster, because you skipped breakfast, you ate fast food on the way to work, you didn't drink any water, you had soda, no wonder. And so once I got people to really understand that they could retrain their intestinal tract and their digestion, it worked wonders. It really did. And so I think that your company offers that to people, that if they just got, consistent with, the greens and the reds and the protein and some of the other great products that you have, that the gut's going to respond, and in turn it's going to support all the other avenues of your body to give you that quality of life that everyone deserves. Everyone.
Well, Dr. Natrajan, thank you again for joining us and giving us your words of wisdom. I know I received a bit of information from this conversation, and I know everybody who watched it live as well as on the replay will get a great deal of knowledge. So thanks again for everything you do. We so appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. You have a great day.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.